And we're back. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Dojo Live. Today is Thursday, February 3rd. This is Tulio Sergusa broadcasting from Southern California. Joining me is Kim Lantis in Hermosillo, Mexico. Hi, Kim. Welcome back.
Hey, thank you. Good to be here as always.
So today we're talking with Tom Hammond, who is broadcasting from Madison, Wisconsin. We're talking about mobile games, the future of growth in mobile games. But before we get started and see what we can learn there and what we can unpack, let's get to know Tom a little bit. Tom, if you could please introduce yourself. Tom Hammond is the CEO at UserWise. We'll talk about your company in just a minute, but let's get to know you first. If you can introduce yourself, we'd appreciate it. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, great to be here, guys. Well, let's see. I'm a bit of a fitness fanatic. I do some pretty intense workouts. I've got 3 kids at home. So we've got like a 4-year-old daughter, 2-year-old daughter, and a 3-month-old son. So it's a lot of fun. Not much sleep, but that's okay.
I hear
you. Yeah, it's really not that bad for me because I always, usually wake up at like 4 a.m. to hit the gym. So, getting up in the middle of the night to take care of the little one isn't too bad. Although, it comes with the territory. Love the outdoors, adventuring. I do like the snow up until maybe like, I don't know, January or February. After that, I'm pretty much done with it. But live in Madison, so we get it all the way through April. So, just comes with where we are. Otherwise, I think in terms of entrepreneurship and stuff, I've always had, I guess I'd call it the sickness, where I see things and instead of just being satisfied with the new iPhone or whatever, I'm like, oh, that's cool. But what if we change this? Or, wouldn't this be better? Couldn't this be better? So I had a slew of failed startups, as many folks do. Started my first successful company, a company called Theorem Reach, doing rewarded surveys about 8 years ago. That was an interesting experience. We actually struggled to find a technical co-founder, so I taught myself how to code and kind of built it from scratch. So that was a fun experience. Luckily, none of my code is used anymore. Has been replaced by smarter people. But pretty much just with the 3 co-founders, we bootstrapped that up to about 8 figures in revenue, and then ultimately led up to a couple of years ago when we started UserWise.
Awesome. Well, tell us about UserWise. What gave birth to this idea? What do you guys do?
Yeah.
I sense a story coming on to that one.
Yeah. I think
tell us.
If you think about gaming, going back, games has historically been a very hit-driven industry, where you release a game after working on it for multiple years and you hope that it does well. And if it does, you'll make a lot of money. And then you use that to work for the next couple of years on the next game, and you kind of hope again. Or maybe you find a successful IP, like you release your Diablo game, and then you work for a few years and you release Diablo 2 and then continue on. But in the last 10 years, maybe a little bit more, games have really shifted into this games as a service or live ops driven model where, we found, hey, if players really love this game, it's actually more cost effective, and we can grow our revenue and our audience to not just leave that game as it is, but to continue to push out new experiences and new content and things. Like you think about that Travis Scott concert that was in Fortnite that they had 10 million people come and attend, right? Something fun and interesting and new. And that's this kind of concept of live ops. And while that shift has happened, there's really no standard to actually develop and deliver these types of experiences to players. So if you look back in the day within the gaming industry, to have a multiplayer game, you would have to build and operate your own server room. Nowadays, there's AWS, Google Cloud. Back in the day, to build a game, you would have to first develop your own game engine, and then you'd build the game on top of that. Meanwhile, Unity launched, and when it first launched, everyone kind of laughed at it and scoffed it off. It's like, oh, nobody's ever going to use that. We build our engines in-house. And Unity kept getting better and better and better and better. And eventually it was like, well, do we build our own game engine and get to here, or do we just start with Unity and get all this stuff? And so people kind of shifted over, and we kind of saw the same opportunity in the game operations space. To be able to run those games with live ops, we see folks like Social Point and Rovio and King that are spending tens of millions of dollars and 6-7 years of time developing out these in-house game operations tools, which is great for them. But for everyone that doesn't have that time and that money to build out the tools that are probably 90% of them are exactly the same, they don't really have any solutions. And so you see some very janky stitch together solutions of like pushing up raw JSON into a special Google Calendar that, if it all works and it's in the right format, the game will download it and you'll have one special event that day. But if you want to personalize it or anything like that, you can't do that.
It's an interesting concept. Before we go into the topic that you mentioned about live ops and the concert in Fortnite that was huge. I wonder what's causing this trend. You've got a bunch of YouTubers who make millions of dollars every year basically playing games and videotaping themselves playing, and people watch this. Even my young ones watch this.
She's like,
I mean, is that what's they just, it's like they're not playing the game, they're watching someone else playing the game and doing commentary, and they're just like glued to this thing. And these guys are raking it in, just playing a game and making commentary, etc. Has that contributed to this trend to say, hey, maybe we, the big opportunity is not necessarily people playing the game, it's people watching the folks playing the game? Is that the thinking a little bit? Again, I don't want to take away the topic.
I don't know that you would necessarily correlate that directly. I don't think that many game companies directly make a lot of money from those kind of esports realms type of a thing. So like I think of like Riot and League of Legends. I think that contributes to the player community and the overall engagement of the game, but I don't think it ties that directly to monetization in terms of actual dollars that are going into the bank account so that I can pay real salaries to real people that are going to continue to make the game.
Yeah, not your bank account anyway.
All right, well, let's see what we can learn today. Kim, if you could please kick it off with the topic and the topic.
Yeah. So today's topic, as chosen by you, Tom, is how mobile games will drive growth in the future. And more specifically, how you can achieve 10 times growth with the next level personalization and tools that make it ridiculously easy to retain players. All right. So 10 times growth.
I like that marketing term, ridiculously easy. I love that.
Ridiculously easy. So 10 times growth, that's nothing to bat an eye out. I think for me, the key word here is this personalization. So what does personalization mean in terms of gaming, and how is this evolving and shifting?
Before we even touch on games, let's just talk about personalization in general. If I'm on Amazon, and I recently was, because I needed to buy a new dehumidifier because mine downstairs broke for whatever reason. And so I was looking to buy a new dehumidifier. Now, after I'd added that into the basket, it popped up a little recommendation. It was like, people that bought this also often bought a little like 10 feet hose that you can use to like put into the drain. That was very helpful because, what would be really nice is to not have to go down once or twice a week to like grab the water and bring it upstairs and pour it out. But now I can just like plug it in and send it directly down to the drain. And it's like a set it and forget it. And that's really great for me. That's personalized, and it's offered to me at the right point in time. Now, just about any other time that I would be on Amazon, had they offered me this 10-foot hose, I'd been like, this is useless. Like, why would I ever need a 10-foot hose? Like, is my yard so that small? No, it wouldn't make sense. But in the context of where I was and what I was doing, it made total sense, and it significantly added a lot of value to me as the buyer. When I think about games, not even getting into like mobile games or anything like that, like if the three of us were playing a game together, even the most simple games, when you've got people playing together, you're going to enjoy different aspects of those games. So maybe Kim is really into the storyline and the narrative and understanding that.
No, I like the construction. I like to
The
create
construction. Yeah.
things
So
and
maybe you're
design
building
stuff.
something.
Yeah.
Maybe I just want to rob all the shop owners and try to get filthy rich. And, we've got somebody else over here trying to get super powerful. But like, there's different aspects of the same game in the same session, but there's different things that we enjoy. And so this whole idea of personalization, I think, roots at the heart of that. If I can find players that are altruistic, they like working with other players, they like helping other players, and I can give them more ways to help them or to provide more help or different things like that. And if I can give your competitive players more opportunities to compete and to feel that competitive nature, they're more likely to do those things because it's what they most enjoy about the game. They're probably going to come back more often to do those. And if there's some element of monetization or anything else in there, they'll probably, spend money on those types of things because it's the experience that they most like about that game. So, in the context of, let's say, offers or something. Now, imagine that it's raining outside. It's probably, if you don't have an umbrella, it's pouring down rain and there's umbrellas sitting right here, for $4.99. You're much more likely to spend $4.99 buying an umbrella before going outside in the pouring rain than if you were just walking out and it's sunny outside, still see that same, $4.99 offer there. Now, I see a lot of games that they set up, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 just kind of standard special offers or deals that everyone has available to them whenever they're at. Personalization says, okay, let's take this a step further. And I want you to get in depth. What does this player like to do? How do they like to do it? And where are they at this particular moment in the game? And at that particular moment, when they're buying their dehumidifier, throw in the hose that's 10 feet that's going to make that thing better. If that kind of adds a little realm to what we're doing.
It does. So when you're thinking about your game, I mean, up until this moment, it sounds pretty obvious, so this might be a stupid question. But when you're helping people construct these games, are you creating these personas? And not just personas within the game, but I mean, who is my gamer? What are these gaming personas? If so, how did you come about investigating that or creating what different types of people are going to be wanting?
Yeah. Right now, what we've built is we've mostly just built the tools for determining those people, delivering the things, just because there hasn't been anything out there at all. So there is no platform for setting up those things when they happen and being able to deliver them down. That is definitely something that we're planning on doing in the long term. Part of our platform, we do have segmented surveys and stuff in there, so I can give surveys to people and better understand them. But I think there's multiple layers and things that you have to go into actually developing out a persona and understanding what those people's are. And one of those things is actually talking to those people. And there's just really no way to get around that, I don't think.
Very good.
All right, that's pretty cool. So just walk us through a use case, if you could, just to paint a picture of how this comes together. Give us an example of before and after, if you could. That would be very useful.
Yeah, so I know of a game studio that initially had those 5 offers that were just kind of everyone was getting them. And they went through the step of, hey, let's play out our game and outline, okay, of each of these steps along here, each of these moments in time, what would be the most value to this user or this group of users at this point in time? And they did those things. I'm
sorry, just so I understand. Similar to a customer journey, whether it's retail or whatever, they've created a player journey with some assumptions.
Exactly.
Some assumptions of things they were going to need at certain points. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So like, let's pretend forget that game for a second. Let's pretend I'm playing like a castle builder game. I know that once I upgrade from level 4 to level 5 castle, I'm suddenly going to need an additional 10,000 iron to be able to upgrade my castle from level 5 to level 6 or whatnot. Um, for those players that got there, giving them a special offer or a way for them to earn that iron faster, they're probably more likely to spend or to do some sort of action to get that iron faster so they can get to level 6 now. Had I offered them that iron earlier when it wasn't needed and wasn't required, they probably wouldn't have done those things. If I offered it to them later in the game when they maybe have tons of iron mines and they have, way more than they need, it's also going to be unappealing to them. But at that moment in time, based on what they just did, it would be the most impactful thing for them to do it. Now, of course, you need to design your game economy in a way that players don't have to spend, because that can be very frustrating to them. But if they want to spend because it's going to make the game more fun for what they like to do, I think that's okay to do. A recent example that doesn't use UserWise, I was playing League of Legends Wild Rift, and I just bought a new champion, Teemo, and probably played one of the best games of my life. And I don't know if they did this directly or indirectly, or I just got really lucky, but I just tore it up. I was the MVP and did amazing and just beat everyone. And after that game, I suddenly got a special offer to buy a really awesome looking skin for Teemo that would allow me to further strut my skills and how amazing I am, with this Teemo. I don't know that I actually bought it, but if there was any point in time when I was going to buy it, it was that point in time, because it's oh, well, not only were you amazing, but don't you want to look amazing so that every game you play afterwards on Teemo, you can just, strut off in front of these other players?
Right.
That's pretty cool. It
So
makes you think whether that was already was all planned out from them to have you have this amazing experience.
The logical answer would be yes, it was, I guess. So enter UserWise,
so
right?
Maybe Tom's got some awesome skills.
Well, he did, and then he gets to strut it. So enter UserWise. What is it exactly that you as a company are offering to mobile gaming companies? What's your product?
Yeah, think of it as a really advanced, sophisticated admin layer that sits on top of your game server. So the game server is where everything kind of goes down to the game. UserWise allows you to make groups of players that we call segments. So I could make, in that example with the Wild Rift game, I could make a segment of players that recently played Teemo in a game and got MVP or whatever I want in terms of grouping those players. Then I can create campaigns in UserWise. So there's different types of campaigns. One is a triggered campaign. So a triggered campaign would be when a player does something. So when I run out of gold, I could, pop up a recharge gold offer or something like that. When I've killed over 18 people in a game on Teemo, give them this special Teemo skin offer because they're likely wanting to buy it to kind of strut their skills. I could also set up campaigns that are going to be more of a time-based type thing. So people are really fickle, right? And we need new to want to come back.
Right.
So if your game doesn't have new and exciting things every time your players come back, they're not going to want to come back, and they're going to go to a different game that does have something new and exciting. So the whole idea behind live ops is giving them more of the same, but different. So I can come back in and see, oh, not only do they have these regular game modes, but they've got this special limited time game mode. I want to try that out. Let's see how fun it is. Is that going to be interesting for me to do today? And maybe tomorrow or next week, there's another new game mode, and the one that was there last week is gone. UserWise gives you the ability to set up those types of things. Or, maybe for the month of December, we're going to allow you to re-theme and reskin the entire kind of game to be all Christmassy. And there's special Christmas offers that are going on, holiday offers, whatever you want to call it. UserWise allows you to schedule and manage all of those different, things that are going on. And when you're talking about games that have hundreds of thousands or millions of daily users,
Right.
there can be massive number of groups of players. Like, maybe 2 million coins is the right amount to offer a player that is level 0 and hasn't spent anything in the game. But the player that has spent $50,000 in the game and is at level 1,000, maybe it needs to be 2 billion coins to be enticing to them. And, 400 different groups of players in between. So you've got to be able to customize all of those things and give the right things to the right players at the right point in time. And that's kind of what UserWise does.
Cool. So you're helping put some organization to those campaigns and to those ideas. Do your tools in your company also help in the ideation of that, or the creativity, or are you leaving that completely in your users' hands?
For the most part, it is just the platform for setting that stuff up and delivering it. I think long term, there are some things that we can do, but games are so vastly different between them. It's challenging enough within the context of a single team on a single game. Being able to actually do recommendations beyond that as like an outside tool or whatnot is actually pretty difficult. But I think there are some things that we're planning out on doing, which is like, hey, it's going to be Dawala next week and you haven't set up any special, things for them. Maybe you should do that. Hey, did you know that it's Independence Day on September 7th for Brazil? Maybe you should set up something special for your Brazilian players to help them celebrate. It doesn't even have to be that much. Like, it could be a little message that says Happy Independence Day from your friends at whatever games. I've actually seen that boost, retention and engagement of players because they feel, oh, wow, this game maker is over in Sweden or Finland or wherever, and they're thinking of me all the way over here. That's pretty cool. They remembered my holidays.
Personalization.
Yeah.
It's great.
Now, I've seen how AI, machine learning's been used in customer journeys with massive amounts of customer transaction because it requires so much data to be able to study and analyze and then come up with permutations, thousands of different permutations that physically can't be done by humans.
Yeah.
I've seen that be very effective in creating conversion opportunities for companies. Is a similar principle being applied here? Are you guys using AI as a way to enhance getting to that personalization? Is it a continuous study and an adaptation? How is that working?
That's a good question. I know of like 3 or 4 companies that have tried to do that and are all now defunct. It's a big challenge. I think it's something that we're open to exploring in the future, but right now we're just working on that core platform for scheduling and delivering stuff just because there's nothing out there. So
Keep it simple.
most game studios are setting up something in Google Sheets and then trying to somehow push that into like their game server, and it's just very convoluted and very error prone and stuff. So just working on that baseline first. Like let's get a firm foundation and we can add other stuff, kind of on top of that. I've seen some gaming studios on a individual game have moderate success with machine learning. And where I've kind of seen it be successful is what is the right price that we should charge for this thing. But even still, it took them 1 to 2 years just to get on par with their teams that were creating the offers and stuff. And those teams still didn't go away. But now it was like, okay, we've got a baseline of, the offers that are going to be machine generated. And then our other team comes in and they more do the catered stuff. So, hey, this is the Valentine's Day offer, or hey, this is the new champion. Doesn't have any data on it, so the machine wouldn't have pushed that out, but like this is the new champion deal and stuff, and so it kind of becomes additive in that sense. So I think there's always going to be human elements to designing what are going to be these fun new experiences that we can give our players, and sometimes those are going to be more dollar based. And other times, like, you just do stuff for fun because people are playing games for fun.
Makes sense. Sometimes you just need help getting up the mountain, not a rocket getting you to the moon, right?
Yeah.
Aww. So
So,
talking,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was going to say, talking about personalization, we're coming to the final kind of minutes of today's show. It's my understanding that UserWise has been founded with you and a couple other people who've done that before. What have you done this go round to make your experience personal? What's the culture like at UserWise?
Yeah. So I learned a lot of fun, interesting lessons in kind of company number one. I think the first one is that companies are built by people, and there are different characteristics of people. Like, I've seen someone be really successful at this other company and then really unsuccessful at someplace else or whatnot. And the big thing that I found that comes in there is passion. So we look for really passionate people, but also kind of like the best of the best. So we found that the very best programmers, the folks that we hire onto our team, they can do in 1 to 2 days what I've seen teams of developers struggle to complete in like weeks and months. And we get that programming test. I think the average score on it is probably like 5%. But when we go on to hire that developer that scored 100%, the few folks that do, the stuff that they go on to output makes it all the more worth it. And we look for that level of skill in every single role that we have. And we're always looking to kind of increase our talent density. I think of like the very best quarterback in the NFL. He would be useless without a line to protect him so that he actually has time to throw that ball, right? So we look for the absolute best people all around the board. And plus, it's just plain fun. Like, when you're very talented and you're kind of stuck with a team of maybe mediocre or folks that aren't, it just kind of brings you down. You kind of go to their level. It's like that class project where you've got the slacker and now you got to pick it up and do it. Nobody ever wants to do that. And we don't tolerate that, at our company. So we look for, hey, this is the very best person. I want to be in their group because they're going to do amazing. But we fill that group with 4 of those people or 5 of those people so that everyone is kind of raising it up together. And it's just plain fun to work in that environment where you've got all these talented people where you're just blown away by the stuff that they're doing every single day. And it encourages you to be the best version of yourself.
That's awesome. In this time of the quote unquote great resignation, what are you then doing at UserWise with all these great people to keep them there? How are you accomplishing that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we do a little bit differently is, so we bootstrapped the first company, right? It's still profitable enough that we've been able to bootstrap UserWise thus far too. Which is, really cool. So we have a lot of freedom in the sense that we aren't beholden to any, investors that are looking for a prescribed route, exit or whatnot. So we have a lot of like flexibility in terms of what we do. Like, I believe in continual learning. So we don't really have a learning bucket. It's like, hey, I want to take this $1,000 course. Go do that. I want to read 50 books this year. Go do that. Like, we'll pay for all those things. I don't care what the topics of things are. Learning is extremely valuable. Some of my best ideas have come from me reading or doing something completely unrelated to business or otherwise. Sometimes it's just walking in the woods and camping. So we encourage a lot of flexibility. I personally probably am in the office working, 25 to 27 hours a week. The amount of time that I'm able to spend at home with my family, the work-life balance is kind of astounding. It's like the perfect setup. Now, we still move faster than you would believe possible with team sizes much smaller than you would believe possible. We're able to do that because we have those exceptionally talented people, but we also give them a lot of work-life balance and flexibility, because in today's age, it's not really about the time that you're putting in. It's about, how do I solve these really challenging problems? And you could spend a lot of time or a little time. And, it might be, You know, I was reading the Netflix No Rules book, where he was talking about one of his product guys was like off camping in like the Arctic or something like that, and he had this like brilliant breakthrough idea when he was, you know, on vacation that came back and like revolutionized the way that they did things at Netflix. And he wouldn't have had that if they didn't have the unlimited vacation policy, which is kind of something similar that we do here. We try to take a lot of just be an adult, like don't let the team down, get the things done that they're relying you on for. But other than that, like you pretty much have the flexibility to do whatever you want to do.
Nice.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, we're up on time, Tom. It's been very educational, learning what you guys are doing, and I like the human touch to this. You know, so like I said earlier, sometimes companies focus on building the rocket ship to the moon, but you just need help getting up the mountain. You know, too much tech can be a problem too. So it's nice to balance it out, and we appreciate learning how valuable it is to have people who know what they're doing, and how much time you save, and get a little more life balance. That's a great lesson, I think, for all of us. You want some time, life balance? Get really good at what you do, because then you won't have to waste so much time trying to figure it out. You get really good at what you do, so you can do it faster, and you have more time. So thanks for sharing that with us. Stay with us as we go off the air in just a second. This is the last show for the week. We're going to have a recap show on Monday. We're going to recap 4 shows. We have 4 live shows this week, which is awesome. We're looking forward to that. So come back at 12 o'clock Pacific on Monday for the recap show. If you want to participate in the recap show, if you're a fan watching and you want to be one of the squares, one of the Brady Bunch squares on here, just comment wherever you're watching. Hey, I'd like to participate. Yes, you can be part of the show. Just click a comment wherever you're watching us, and we'll reach out to you. We'd love to have co-hosts who can make comments about the shows we've had. And Kim, what do we got coming up next week in terms of shows?
I got my cursor lost here on the screen. You caught me with my pants down, Tulio. I wasn't ready for that. Usually on Thursdays, we just mentioned the recap show, but let me check it out here. Just a
That's
second.
okay. We can pull them up together.
Got it.
Here
I
you
got
go.
it.
What do we got coming up?
Let's just make sure. Well, I only have. No, I don't even have this information because the landing pages aren't up. So yay!
Oh,
hacky
they're not
me.
up yet. That's
No,
right.
I'm gonna
March.
blame COVID on this. No, I'm kidding.
Come back Monday on the recap show for the announcements of everything that's going on, and you can't miss it because we post them like 3 times on our social platforms, so you can't miss it. Just keep an eye out for it, and we'll see you all back on Monday. Have a great.
Thank you, Tom.